True to everyone, we are back here on the Minecraft server playing, well, Minecraft. Quite a bit has happened since the last time I have recorded. Most notably, well, maybe not most notably, but one things I did is decide where I'm going to go now. So what I'm going to do. So I've got some shovels and stuff ready in my inventory, ready to go gather some sand from off in this distance. The other thing, if you guys have looked at my mini-map at all yet, you'll notice that I have finished the house. And yes, before anyone says anything, I know it's boxy, but it'll suit the purposes that I need it for. So I have this nice little walkway, a nice little pattern for the little front porch here. I'll probably add a little more of an overhang up here just to kind of tidy it up a bit. I have double door opening things with pressure pads that don't match, unfortunately. There's not any pressure plates that match this floor. I'll probably be changing that pretty soon once we get into what we're going to be starting on very shortly. So I have this main room, which will be having plenty enough area for machines and more machines, and storage is all back here. I moved my bed over here, so this is my new home over here. I just have like basic building supplies and some basic metals and some random chests that don't have too much stuff in them. That could be handy, actually. I'll take those. Upstairs is pretty much just a repeat, except there'll be more machines, maybe, probably, mostly likely over here, as well as over here. Different mods, of course, doing different functions. This will be another room that I'll make some sort. Maybe this will be like an enchanting room, or who knows. We'll figure things out. I've got a little balcony over here that I can throw a couple of things on just for fun. And I've got a couple smaller balconies like right here, as well as this one overlooking the front porch like that. Like I said, this one up here might be extended. Most likely I'll extend that. I think I need a little bit more room. It's kind of tight right now, and you know, we'll figure something out. And then up here, up in the attic, I have a little access port. I'll probably put a little trapdoor type thing on here, coming shortly soon. I have some lighting up here since I used wood slabs. There's every other slab, it has spawnable surfaces on it, so I need to put torches up here to keep mobs from spawning. Unfortunately, I'll probably figure something out in the near future of how to fix that. I don't know exactly. This is the light level overlay. I don't know if I showed this off before, but you can see over here, this light level here has gotten to be 7, which is a little bit low enough for mobs to start spawning. So if I jump over here, I can place a torch and the light levels return. I mean, you can look in the F3 screen, as you can tell, and there is a light levels locator somewhere in here. So that basically just pulls those numbers from the actual game itself, from the F3 screen, basically. So then I have this little overlook. I don't know exactly what I'll put up here. It might be something, I don't know. One of the things that I was planning on is that this section right here, I can push forth out that way and go ahead and expand up into the hill that way. So that'll be my my modularity kind of type thing, and we'll make that work somehow. So this is basically the house that we're going to start, or that I have finished, that we're going to start filling up. So I don't think it looks half bad. I know it's not the best thing ever, but I'm not a creative player like I have said before. So we're going to go with this. I'm going to sleep through the night, and we're going to get ready with what I have planned for this here episode. I'll turn off light level overlays, and we'll go off. There's some tweaks I need to do with that door. It just seems kind of finicky sometimes. Sometimes only one door closes. That's just because of the pressure plates that, you know, make it do stuff. So I might have to add some sort of redstone or something to make it work all the time. So anyway, I'm gonna run over here, grab myself a shovel, and I've got quite a few in there, as you can see. I'm gonna leave these little bays here kind of alone for now, because that's kind of within sight of the castle itself, or the house itself. And I'm gonna come over here where it's a little more hidden, and you can kind of see in this area right here, I've already kind of cleared off a little bit of an area there. There's some salt from Mechanism, which we might use later on. we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just start clearing this off. So basically, I've had enough of building. So I'm going to start on what I most enjoy, which is more of a technical side of building. So instead of building actual structures, you're building, components inside the tech tree itself. So that's what I enjoy doing, advancing through tech, getting really awesome machines and, cool gadgets and all that. So that's what I'm going to start on now. But before we can do that, this is why I brought mini shovels. We need to get some power going. And this here starts the whole big chain of getting power. So basically, in order to get power, we're going to, at least in the way that I am choosing to start out with, which is going to be starting with immersive engineering. We need to get some water wheels going. Overall, it's a very cheap way to go. All it takes is some basic resources like sand and gravel and, well, sand and clay actually. And once you have that, all it takes is wood and, pardon me. Then after that, after you get your wood, you can, all the resources it takes is just, some sand and gravel, or not sand and gravel, sand and clay and wood, and that's all this power source takes, and water. So in case you hadn't guessed yet, I'm going to be making some water wheels, and for being a very early tier power source, they are actually really good, and I will be having at least a couple of them. I might go 3 or 4 depending on how much I feel like building, but overall it's a really good early game power source. So I'm going to start with that and get some machines rolling and start making some fun techie stuff, because that's where all the fun lies. So I'm going to just get a little bit more sand and go look for some clay. We have a little bit of clay back at the base, but we need more. So this one unfortunately does take a lot of clay. There was, in previous versions, you had both the immersive engineering version of this machine we're building, as well as a railcraft version. And railcraft does not have that version anymore, otherwise it is disabled, which is also a possibility. And so we have to use the greater clay instead of the other version, which had greater sand, I think is what it needed, more sand than clay. But I mean, I personally like the immersive engineering version better. It looks cooler in my opinion. So we're gonna go with that, and so I'm gonna gather a couple stacks of clay. Let's see how much we have here, if I can not drown, which would be great. Need some food. We have almost a stack. So let me go find another patch. One thing I wanted to note is that my mic has been being kind of finicky as of late, so I do apologize if my audio levels are kind of wonky. Hopefully I'll be getting that fixed, and hopefully it'll be all fixed in the next video. So I do apologize for that, but these things do happen, and I need to kind of want to get this video out. So I'll be playing around with that more as the time comes sooner, as long as these slimes don't push me anywhere, because they're annoying. So I do apologize for that. It will be fixed soon. So yeah, now let's see, should be just about almost to the point that we need to be. A little over, almost 2 stacks of clay. Get a little bit more just for the sake of things. And let's see, where could some more be? Unfortunately, I have not found any large area for sand. Like a desert or something like that. I haven't done a ton of exploring. We'll probably be doing that in some of the near future episodes. But at least for now, these short little small beaches, I guess, will do. Just as long as Pahamar does not decide to jump on the on my little private server here. He might complain about that, but you never, the likelihood of that happening is rather small. But I think we should have enough clay. I'll just finish gathering up this last patch, and we'll head back to base. And now we should have everything we need. Oh, we've got quite a bit of sand. We got enough gravel. And so let's jump back to base, and we'll start doing what we need to do. So basically, I'm not sure exactly what tech tree I want to go along. However, I know I do want some dark steel armor. And that's fairly decent a ways into Ender IO. But it can be upgraded in very neat ways. Although it takes a lot of Ender Pearls to do so. And we have no Ender Pearls at this time. But hopefully we'll be able to gather some of those pearls in some sort of creative way in the near future. We'll see how that goes. But I'd also want to go down the what is it called? The industrial craft tech tree as well. They have some electric jetpacks, which in this version, which I've played with a little bit, they have a way to attach these said electric jetpacks onto any piece of chest plate. So, since for whatever reason the Simply jetpacks, from what I've played, if you look it up, the Simply jetpacks, the Solarium chest plate, or jet plate I guess it's called, does not have a crafting recipe. You can add it with the electric jetpack and you get the same kind of functionality with it, but there's no actual crafting recipe, so I'll have to look into some of the config files and see if that's been disabled or what's up with that. But the Dark Solarium jet plate is a very nice jetpack, honestly. It is above diamond level. As long as it's charged, you'll take practically no damage, and you also gains you creative flight. But it also requires some very high-end Ender IO tech. So that's a long ways away if I can figure out how to enable that. Otherwise, I want to go with the dark steel. This way, and you can empower it with some vibrant crystals, I believe they're called, and then upgrade that empowered up to level 4. And then each item of armor you can add different features. And the part I like is that you can put a glider and a elytra on the chest plate. So I will probably end up doing that, and then combining this. As you can see, you can combine it with a jetpack, and it'll add the jetpack from the industrial craft. So that's probably kind of my goal. But we're a little ways from there, but the best place to start is by getting power overall. So over here, I've got enough clay that I'm going to need for one part, but I'm going to need another part right there with a stack right there. So half of this stuff I will smelt, and the other half I'll have as just plain old clay. And I don't remember exactly how it's supposed to go, but we'll figure that out. The next thing I need to do, I think we're going to need a lot more sand. We will see. Let me do a little bit of sandstone crafting here. Actually, I think we have plenty of it. So I'm going to go like this and click and drag all the way around to even it out, and the same with this. And then all we need to do is wait. Ooh, miscounted. We'll see about that. Yes. think we need 27 of these, so I'm going to need a little bit more clay. It's getting dark, however, so I'm going to run back to the house and sleep through the night, and then we'll continue along with that. And I think I'll make a jump cut and be back as soon as I'm ready to craft what I need to craft. So we'll be back in just a minute. Alright guys, these things are still smelting a little bit, but there's something else that I want to work on. And now we've got quite a bit of animals around here, but I'm going to see before I go and slaughter one of these here cows. I want to see how a good way to get leather is. Sometimes they add some very unique things. That's a vanilla crafting. That's not available. That's not works. That is a possibility, but again, it also involves killing a cow. Or fish. I'm not ready for fishing. Fishing is boring and useless, but that could be a good way later on to get some leather. Industrial squeezer. What is that? Blood. Oh, that might be a thing to do. We'll look into that. Nope. And nope. And nope. So, alright, so I guess our best bet, at least for the time, because I'm not ready to wait for almost, well, 8.5 minutes or 8 minutes, however long it took for this drying to happen. 8.5 minutes. I'm not ready for that this time, but so I'm just going to have to kill a cow. I'm sorry, cow. I'm sorry. Stop running. Thank you. And we have some leather. Fortunately, it dropped some leather. Now, while I'm at it, just to make future use a little bit easier to access, because I'll need quite a bit of leather later on. Let me get 9 of these. And if the recipe has not changed, I do this, and yes, we get drying racks. Spruce colored even, which is even more handy. So I'll put these up here on top and throw this on here, and it'll progress over 8.5 minutes and become this leather. However, we have one piece starting out right away. The next thing I'm going to need is to get some paper, which usually is made with sugarcane. However, we have not found any sugarcane, but there's some other pretty neat plants that exist around. Most notably, this here rice. Now, if I remember correctly, here's this. If I put rice like this, it creates paper. There we go. So now what we need to do is make a book. Now the last thing we're going to need is some cobblestone, which should be over here after I eat. Which, these strawberry smoothies are really good, but I tend to go through them rather quickly. So I'll probably have to figure out some sort of better food source in the future somewhere. So I'm going to make a lever. And then these should combine together to make an engineer's manual. Now if I open it up, I should get an achievement. Yes! So this is the manual for the immersive engineering mod. And it gives pretty much everything that you can do in the mod, and how to make things, how to construct things, and everything. Basic overview of the different resources that can be found, like hemp, or this, which is what we're going to be making, is the coke oven. So here's the recipe. So we're just waiting for the bricks to burn up, and we'll be ready with that. However, with this, I wanted to kind of take a look around and see what all we can find out about what we can do in the mod. The mod has changed a little bit since I last played with it, and so I'm kind of curious what all you can do with it nowadays. So I'm looking for treated wood. That's basically what we're going to need to get started with the power resources that we need. And that goes along, where would it be? Graphite. That's interesting how that's in basic overview. Okay. Power generators and wires. Maybe here. Redstone wires. That's kind of fun. Power generation. This might involve something. Here we go. So we can make windmills, which isn't too bad, honestly. We're in the mountains, so we could definitely make use of that. We might have to build a slight structure to make it work most efficiently, but that could be a possibility for sure. We got enough mountains around. But this is what I'm definitely looking for. And unfortunately, we're going to need steel for it. I was not anticipating that. However, this shouldn't be too terribly hard to get. We can also make improved windmills, which are better overall. So, than the basic windmills. There's also the thermoelectric, which is pretty interesting. It uses the temperature differences of between two blocks or fluids and produces power from that. So like placing a plutonium block, which is very hot, and packed ice, for example, which is very cold, and putting those together would create more energy than, say, putting ice and just plain old uranium or fire or lava together. So there's, that's a possibility right there. There's some pretty cool things in the mod. This is all the basic stuff. Lightning rod, I'll be building that later on, I'm sure. Looks like we got a few broken textures here, which could make constructing this a little tricky. But this basically takes thunderstorms and produces power from them. If a structure, a net of steel fences, as they say, gets struck with lightning, then it will produce lots and lots of power. So we'll probably do that in the future. Since we are on the mountain, there might be more lightning strikes with that. But there's some really cool, fun things that you can do. I wonder if it's in here. Yes, it is. So like the mining drill. This runs off of biodiesel. However, it can mine in a 2x3 or a 3x3 zone. And it can be upgraded to make it last longer and all those fun things. But that's a fun thing. If we can possibly take the steel head and enchant it, I would definitely go with this way. But most of the time, at least in previous versions, you can't enchant it, which kind of is a bummer for me because I like enchanting things and making things really fast and fancy and stuff. So we'll see about that. Might play around with that a bit in the future. Ear defenders. What is this? For protecting your hearing, they are quite important for engineers who work in close quarters with diesel generators. Reduces noise by 90%. That's not too bad. And they can be dyed. And nice. Cool. Chemical thrower. This is really fun. It's basically can be used as a flamethrower or any other fluid can be emitted from it. So, yeah, that's kind of fun. I might want to set some mobs on fire with that. That would be kind of fun. Or maybe poison them with stuff. We'll see. Railgun is also pretty interesting, and skyhooks, we might use those a little bit in the future. But overall, this mod is pretty dang cool, so we'll be playing around with it quite a bit in the near future. Let's see how our bricks have come along. They're just about done, it would appear to be. Now if we put these all together, we should come up to be about what we need. I think we need a couple more pieces of clay. And we'll throw those in here just to be efficient. So with this and this, now, oops, we're going to need 4 more pieces. My bad. Math. It's never been fun for me. Anyway, there's going to be something that we're going to need to be able to build this here structure. So let me... Actually, we might have everything we need here. Yes, here we go. We need 2 string. We're going to need an iron, and do we have wood? We do have wood. Cool. And we'll create this, which will jump over here, and that will be a problem. Let me go ahead and grab another piece of wood, and that's not going to work. I need to rebind that key. Let's see, jump over here, and we'll just plop this over here because why not? Now we're going to need some sticks. like that. And if I remember correctly, we are going to need one more piece of iron. And it looks like it's to be about time to sleep. So that would be an important thing to do. So this should make a hammer. And I get the achievement, get hammer. And this will be extremely useful in creating these structures within Immersive Engineering mod. So here we go, we get 27. Actually, 27 times 2, which makes 54. So actually we can build 2 of these, which will actually get us boosted going forward pretty quick. And as the appearance would be, there is a conflict between this recipe, because it looks like I made some jerky instead of leather. So that is a little disappointing, but hey, we get some free food out of it, so there's something. Alright, now where do we want to build this? Maybe we could utilize this kind of hole. I've been trying to figure out what to do with this hole. So maybe we could make it into some sort of something or other. We'll see. Anything anywhere in particular? Let's just keep it over here for now. Well, I want some open space, so let's drop it down here. Sure, this will work. So basically we're going to build 2 3x3x3 structures, just like this, solid blocks all around. And look like a skeleton over there that needs to be slaughtered. So build that, break that. Ooh, experience from that, cool. This pick is pretty nice. I do like that you can just randomly gain experience from mining things. Comes in very handy. And then at this point, we should just smash it with a hammer, and out pops the coke oven. Now, in order to get to this thing to run, I think it only accepts 2 different kinds of items. One, which is the most efficient in my opinion, is coal. And the other is wood, I think. I'm pretty sure. Which creates charcoal, I believe. And so this coal will go in here and it'll slowly burn itself up into coal coke, which in real life and in Minecraft is a much more efficient use of coal. However, the byproduct of that transformation is to create creosote oil, which will fill up in these slots on the side, which can be taken out with buckets or pipes or pretty much any way you please. You can take them out. So we'll use that creosote oil to create some of that treated wood. And let's see how my combat does. Nice, not too bad. And it looks like I got a skeleton skull from that. Even cooler. Okay, back on topic. So once this burns out, we should end up with a coal coke and a little bit of creosote oil. And then we're going to need wood. So I've been harvesting some of this oak wood, which looks like we got a nice tall tree over there now. Not in that chest, in this chest. So we got over 2.5 stacks there of wood that we'll be able to transfer into the treated wood planks that we need to build this water wheel. Now, let's take a look over here, because I believe this is going to be the place that I'm going to want to put it. And I think we're just going to have it drop right off here and maybe flow down that way or something or other. So I think that'd be kind of cool, or maybe inside this hill right here. Whoops, if I don't fall off too hardly. And then, you know, kind of flowing down here. So that'd be kind of cool. And so I'll probably have at least two of these water wheels running. That should be a pretty good base power gen for at least what I want to start out with. So if I can get back on top with some fancy parkour, which I've never been good at, we'll just jump up here. Okay, so looks like we're almost out of time for this episode here, but I'm going to let this here coal cook up, and then in the next episode we need some steel, so that should be down here, maybe, possibly. Or maybe it's under construction. I don't know exactly where it is. Resources, maybe? Blast furnace. Here we go. So we're going to need to make a crude blast furnace, which can be improved easily enough later on. And so, oh, that requires going to the nether. Okay, well, going to the nether will be fun. We'll see about doing that next episode. And so, until that time, I guess, we'll see what happens. So I'll get that thing, that creosote cooked up, and unfortunately, I guess I'll get the equipment I need to head to the nether and hopefully not perish in the fire. So anyway, that's next time's episode, and so until then, guys, we'll see you later.